other one, this one's lovely and straight, it's got a right curvature.
Would it always be like that? Would it always be like that now?
Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, the vet has said our other option is opening him up and fusing the joint, but he's going to have the same amount of movement as what he's got at the moment.
Oh.
So I've bought a leg brace that when we go out for long walks and things like that, just because it must be slightly painful, I think, for him, because he does tend to hold it up quite a bit. And you'll notice when he stood here, he's not putting his full weight on it. So I have got a leg brace that we use on walks and things like that. I'll put notes on you, just because we're doing this as an assessment. Are you turning around to me?
No.
Good boy. So yeah, your different breeds that you're going to be doing this on. So the Newfoundland that we had in last week, we could essentially do it on that, but would that be fair, doing it on a Newfie when you've only got an hour as opposed to doing it on this level of coat? It may be that if we have got a really large breed that you might do half the dog in the same amount of time because it's double the size of the dog. But you've got your retrievers, you've got some of the breeds that you've got, like your Malinois and stuff like that. They've got furnishings. Brad's got Shadow out there, and I did say to him, I was like, you get Shadow because she suffers terribly with hot spots. We don't really bath her here. Plus she's annoying on the table. She shouts her head off the whole time. But we might get Shadow out and do some natural trims on her if he's bathed her the day before and things like that. Working Cocker Spaniels, Pomeranians, any of your Spitz type breeds. So if any of you have a dog that you want to bring in to use for this assessment, or the bathing and drying of it, then please feel free, just let us know. We just need to make sure we've got it booked into the diary. All right, my darling? So your natural trim is what it describes, is it's meant to look natural. So I'm going to start with my feet. I'll start by going around the edge, taking on any excess. Now his feet have not long been done, but you will see that sometimes they come in, their feet look like that to start with. Can you see how hairy that is? Like actual chickens. Are they bantam chickens? The big hairy feet. So you start very similar to what you're doing with your round foot, but more going along the sides because you're not bothered about it looking egg-shaped. You don't need the width on your foot there. Any hair that's hanging down from the pastern or from the hop, ensure that gets cleaned out. And the angle of the pad. So that's going to come up, pad is going like that, and that's coming up at that angle. Now I want to start clearing the hair in between the toes. Poor darling. Right, you can sit down if you want. Now I want to lift the hair that grows in between the toes there. So I'm going to use my brush rather than my comb. You can use a comb, but I find it doesn't lift them little fine hairs as well. Now who was it that had a cocker last week?
Me.
Sam, you were really heavy, wasn't they, in between them toes? So we had to start with our straights first of all to get some bulk off. If they're quite light coated, like he is, you're going to want to go straight in with your thinners. Your thinners are going to give you the most natural finish. And this would be classed as a cat foot, what you're creating, because you want to be able to see the actual knuckles in between the toes. And it should look like it naturally grows like that. So with your natural trim, her hair, never in a million years is going to look like it naturally grows to that beautiful round circle. But your natural trim is meant to be, that's what that dog come out like. Even when you see some Newfies and Pomeranians that are really scissored up. Then I'm going to start, can I have this pod on him? So, keep your wrist carpal joint nice and straight. Keep the leg low. If you come up too high, the angle's going to ruin what you're doing. Using the angle of the pad, with that wrist joint not twisted, because it can twist in and up, keeping it flat, and I'm going to come up with my thinners in a line up to the elbow. So it's basically, I'm just following the line of the foot. Any excess hair I'm taking away. Now you might find that some owners are going to say they want them short, they want them long. It's the same trim. You're just leaving length or taking away. Then I'm going to start working my way around the dog. So obviously if you want to do all 4 feet first, it's entirely up to you. It's all about your furnishings. So some dogs don't really have a ruff around the neck. If you've got something like a spaniel, you had a spaniel last week, didn't you? you're going to want to take all that neck away. But because he's a collie, I want some rough around the neck. So, get your ears up. It's not going to do. Nope, give me the cow ears. So I'm just going to have a little look at setting that ear up to find how wide I want that. I want that ruff to come out, sort of join in with his ears. So as he's not doing that, I'm just going to bring that round. So this is all about making your dog just look balanced and natural. Come round into the chest. He's not massively hairy, but you will have some dogs that have got tons of hair. So it is going to take longer on some. And if I have to adjust timings on assessments, because I need to deem them as fair, then I will. So although we're saying an hour, it could be that you're doing an hour and a half a dog, or you've got an hour and a half to do a whole dog because it's hairier. It's more really, I will adjust that to ensure that you feel that you're comfortable. So I'm bringing that round from that ruff in that nice shape. With his underline, now this is again where your anatomy kind of comes in. All skirts and underlines, highest point should be after that 13th rib. Yeah, it should start angling up, and then that's where your legs start coming from. So, I'm gonna have a little look. Crusty Willy now, aren't you? Oh. Where's that another way? Oh, that hair off the Willy. Yeah, so his last rib sits there. So I'm going to want that to angle down from that point because that's going to be my highest point. So it comes up and down. If they're really bulky in the side, or it feels like they've got a definite line, then maybe come in using your scissors in the direction that the coat is growing, always in the direction the coat is growing. Then maybe take that down. When you're going over the feet as well, make sure that you're going up or down the foot. Don't ever go across the foot because you will leave stripes going over. Now with his trousers, he's got very odd trousers at the moment because that leg was really shaved down. I'm going to lift that towel out, then that should be a nice round shape that comes round, really to around about the hock joint, and when I look from the side, that should flow in nicely. See how often I use my comb? Now some dogs, you'll, as I was saying, like with Cocker Spaniels and things like that, some golden retrievers will have a really heavy stifle. So don't take it back to short just because you see short on some others. I'm literally going to be imagining this is coming up to that last rib. Just tidying up into that line. Hair here. They'd have what's classed, so with Luna's, hers is classed as what I'm saying about the well lit down hock, yeah? It could almost look like the hock joint sits there because that's the furthest point away from the leg. His would be classed as a padded hock. So following that line of the anatomy, I'm just going to leave a layer of padding there. If you hear the word padding, just think of you with a puffer jacket on. Got a layer of padding on, that's all it is. Because he's quite curved in that one, I'm going to try and straighten it. So this is what I was saying about as well with us trying to fake things with the dog's hair. I'm going to go really tight on the bit at the top that sticks out. So that's almost to the skin. Going to leave a little bit more of this part to make it look like it's straighter now rather than curving out. Obviously I've got to go around tidying on them feet and sort of jumping a bit all over the place. Try and be as Although, can you move forward just a tad, babe? Yes. Come forward a bit. Come forward a bit, babe. Because that pole's in my way. Good boy. Try to be as methodical as possible. Try and work your way around the dog in series. Now, that comes out, an inverted V sits in here. I'm not going to touch too much on this side because obviously he was shaved down, which makes it really difficult, but a real tidy. Just obviously always be aware if there's crown jewels in there. I got carried away once, scissoring around an Afghan's bum, and all of a sudden the dog went whoop. Oh, yeah. So just always be aware because they can be tucked away under the hair. See, he hasn't got any. I'm not too worried. But sometimes they do have a little bit of sack left there, depending on what age they were when they got castrated. Right, so let's do these other feet. So you can see I'm swapping back between the scissors, I'm using a brush when needed, I'm using a comb when needed. If some of you feel more confident in certain areas using the little bullnose scissors, then you go for it. As long as you achieve the finish that I expect you to achieve and you're both varying your tools, absolutely fine with whatever you want to use. When you're handling the dog as well, especially when you're holding feet, we tend to sort of have a bit of a battle, a lot of us with dogs, because they might pull away. Yeah? If I'm sort of out there going, I want you here, chances are he's going to pull away, so I'm going to work with him at a comfortable area. I might even become a fourth leg if he needs it. When I'm going to be doing this one here, I will definitely become a fourth leg, so I'm going to try and anchor so that he's not putting all his weight on there. He can use me as though he's actually using that leg. Try and manipulate yourself as much as possible to make the dog comfortable, because if the dog's not comfortable, you're not going to get a good finish because you're going to be battling with the dog throughout. So, darling, and you can see after time I'll just let the dog rest on me as opposed to holding them. So I'm coming down the foot on this side because it's a bit awkward to go up, but I'm not going across. As much as I'm going to handle him without putting a belly strap on, it'd be at that point when I want him to weight bear on that I'd use the belly strap, and that'd be the only point only. Or I would say, can someone just come and help hold my dog? So remember, you can do that. So many people I see in assessments having battles with dogs because they're too scared to ask for assistance. I'm like, you actually get graded up for it as opposed to getting graded down, because you're doing what's required to get the job done the most comfortable way for the dog. Have you had the nudge yet? Yeah, she nudges. Yeah, she nudges. Don't you stop, human. I want to see you talking to dogs as well. One of the things I find, not so much my level 3 under 19s, but my youngster under 19 groups on level 2, I think because they're all just a bit shy as people, they don't talk to dogs. And I'm like, talk to the dog. You're actually going to get the best from the dog. Your towel on your natural trim, he sat down. I can do his towel off the side of the table. I don't have to work with him stood up. I will want to have a look at it stood up, but I can work with getting most of it off while he's sat down. Again, I'm trying to work with him. So when you're doing your flag or fan towel, I'm going to start by just taking the end off. Again, I'm using thinners here, but you could go in with straights to start with and then go in with your thinners afterwards. Now I'm going to try and section it into a parting. Put it in my mouth. Now this isn't always the easiest thing, but as with if you're scissoring around the ears, I want you to always try and scissor away from the dog's body. So when you're scissoring tails, I can start with this bit because I'm not going to go anywhere near that anus. Oh. Alright baby, you ain't done anything wrong, it's alright. When I come to this part, I don't really want to be scissoring in case he does try to sit down. So I'm scissoring away. And I'm going to do the tail a few times, making the parting slightly different each time, just because different hairs will come out. So I do it. And tails can very much be an owner's preference as to how long you leave them, but always try and balance as much as possible, which is easier said than done when you first start out, because you know, what do I mean by balance? But I'm trying to look at how hairy is the ruff on his head as opposed to how hairy his tail is or how much trousers he's got on, so that I can try and make sure that his distribution of hair is fair, because we'll often see them pictures of dogs that will go out, a bit like Lula looks at the moment, with a bloody giant head and everything else is a bit small. You need to make sure that if you've got areas that are large, you've got other areas that are large that balance it, or you might need to go slightly tighter. Now, this front leg here is my difficult front leg because the other one, I scissor up. It's really comfortable for me to scissor up. So I'm just going to get my foot in. Okay. Doing this leg, because obviously I want that leg flat. Oh, babe. I'm going to be scissoring down this leg as opposed to up, but I'm looking at where that is. So I'm kind of going in, guiding where my scissors are. You can try and scissor up it if you're comfortable doing that. I've seen such people, I mean when I do like this side of the head, I'll always come from behind because I'm just more comfortable with my scissors like that. But I've seen, you'll see people out there that scissor upwards and do all sorts of things. So it doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong. You do that. Absolute disgust. Balance your dog. So I can now see that side slightly shorter than this side. Remember to move your noose around as well, because that can hinder your groom a little bit and be in the way. Essentially, that's enough on him because I like him to look really, really natural. And I don't want to take him too tight because probably in about 2 or 3 weeks one of you guys are going to be needing to do it, so you might go a little bit shorter than me and he needs to have some hair on him. But that's kind of what I want. Some owners might want some taken off the back, things like that. if they're really curly, say like a golden retriever, or something like that, that's got a real woolly top line, then your coat is quite good. I mean, obviously don't overuse this because it will break that coat. But you'll see that starts smoothing out the top line, and you can see the difference in the coat that is pulling out. It's more the sort of dead coat, but it will make your dog get woollier over time if you overuse this tool. But that'll start smoothing out your top line. So it's kind of a judgment call what you want, but essentially your natural trim should be lovely, smooth, flat top line, furnishing trousers, featherings coming off the back of the legs, and a nice full tail with some lovely cat feet. Any questions?